Hello and welcome to the International Soccer Preview by Soccer Files Canada. We are continuing with our African Cup 2021 preview by looking at the players of Malawi. So let us begin. Just a quick reminder that those watching on YouTube can actually see the names written out. And for those listening to an audio podcast, we'll repeat these at least 3 times, at least the ones who made the squad, in order to help you familiarize yourself with those names. So let's begin with our manager. The manager is Mario Marinica. Mario Marinica has a bit of an odd history because he seems more of an administrator than a manager, but he joined the Malawi team in 2021. The previous manager kind of joined his team also, and he's an interim manager. Before that, he was the technical director of the Kerala Blasters in India. And then he was with an assistant manager of a team in Romania, and before that, a team in Iraq. And before that, director of football for Azam FC in Tanzania. So this guy has been around in various positions. He was the coach of Rapid Bucharest in Romania, and he is Romanian. Yes, okay, and that is Mario Marinica, and we'll move on to the goalkeepers. So we have one kind of definite candidate in Brighton Menthol. Brighton Menthol played 3 of their 10 games in 2021, but was on the bench for 7 others. So maybe not a definite starter, but we expect him to be on the squad. Next, at the likely level, is Richard Chipua. Richard Chipua had appeared once on the bench in March 2019. But before that, actually was absent for 6 years, apart from that one appearance on the bench. But he returned in September to play 2 of their remaining 5 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 3 others. So we think he's made his way into the squad. And the final likely candidate is Ernest Kakobwi. Ernest Kakobwi. Ernest Kakobwi had played 6 of their 10 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 2 of those. I haven't been giving information, so I'll go back. Brighton Menthol has been with the team since 2016. He has 22 caps and is 24 years old. He plays for the Silver Strikers in Malawi, as many of the players do play for Malawi. Richard Chipua plays in Malawi also, and he has 7 caps since 2014. So obviously more of a bench player there. He's 29 years old. And Ernest Kakobwi is 28 years old, and he has 24 caps since 2017. He plays for Big Bullets in Malawi. So those 3 candidates are the 3 we expect to see on the squad. And let me see. Brighton Menthol has been given a number on the squad, but he's kind of part of the reserve team. And I'm not sure about the reserve team, but I believe that they are registered on the squad but didn't actually accompany the team to Cameroon, just in case Malawi has a lot of COVID cases, which they did before the tournament. I think they prepared some players in the background. And also on a different kind of it's really confusing with Malawi because they had a preliminary squad. So Richard Chipua was on the standby portion of the preliminary squad. I told you it was a bit complicated. Anyway, surprisingly, he didn't make the squad, so he doesn't have a number on the squad. And Ernest Kahobwi did make the squad. He's the only one who actually kind of fully made it onto the squad. So they've added a couple of players. So we have a couple of new players here, and the first one is William Thole. William Thole, he had played one of their 10 games in 2021, and he was on the bench for 3 others. He should have made it onto my radar, but for some reason didn't. He plays for Mighty Wanderers in Malawi, and he's 23 years old, has been on the team since 2020 and has 5 caps. So not a complete surprise there. But the next one is it is Charles Thomu. And Charles Thomu was a new call-up. He had never appeared for the squad before being named to the preliminary squad, and he made the final squad too. So never appeared for the national team until named to the squad. He's 22 years old. So we have them as substitutes, I would imagine. And I'm going to indicate Brighton Menthol as being kind of on a reserve squad. All right, so let us move on to defenders, and we will start with central defenders. And the first candidate is considered definite, and it's Limbikani Mzava. Limbikani Mzava had returned after a 2-year absence in March to the captaincy. He returned to the captaincy and played 7 of their 9 games in 2021, not selected for the 2 others. He is 28 years old, and he's been on the team since 2009. A real veteran with 62 caps and 2 goals. I'm not sure why he was gone for 2.5 years, but he plays in South Africa, played for some of the bigger teams in South Africa, Amazulu, Golden Arrows, Bloemfontein, and so on. So that seems to be where Malawi players, kind of the next step up for Malawi players, is playing in South Africa. At the likely level for central defenders is Peter Chilope. And Peter Chilope played 3 of their 10 games in 2021, but he was on the bench for 6 others. So maybe not a starter for them, but seems like he'll be on the squad. He is 25 years old, has been with the team since 2017, and has 29 caps. He plays in Malawi for Mighty Wanderers. And finally, a possible candidate as central defence is Dennis Chambersie. Dennis Chambersie played 7 of 10 games in 2021, but he wasn't selected for 3 of them, including the last 2. That's what kind of moved him down from being likely to possible. So not many central defenders there. And let's see how it turned out. I'm guessing all of them will be selected, because usually teams bring, around 5 central defenders. And it is true, all of them have been selected. So Limbikani Mzava, I'm going to consider him a starter. And then I'm going to consider Dennis Chambersie a starter since he made the squad. And I'm going to consider Peter Chilope a substitute, because he played only 3 of their 10 games in 2021. All right, let's move on to left backs. And at the left back position, we have Francis Mulambika. Francis Mulambika also returned after a 4.5-year absence. to play one of their two remaining games in 2021, and he was on the bench for the other. So he is 28 years old and has 32 caps since 2014. Of course, Malawi have never reached an African Cup. I think they have reached an African Cup, but not in recent times. And so none of these guys will have tournament experience. Anyway, Francis Mulambiki, a possible candidate for left back. Next is Nixon Miyazulu. Nixon Miyazulu played the first of their 10 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 3 others, but not selected for 6, including the last 4 games, all of those World Cup qualifiers. Actually, I should point out that they did have a friendly in December, but I did the research for this before that game, so I'm counting only their 10 games before that in 2021, the last 6 of which were World Cup qualifiers. Anyway, Nixon Miyazulu is 23 years old, and he has 6 caps, having joined the team in 2020. So he is a possible candidate. There, along with Francis Mulambika. And then one candidate who is possible but unlikely, we'll just mention by name because he just appeared in one game and wasn't there for the last 6 matches, is Scottish-born Kieran Ngwenya. So he is just 19 years old, and we'll tell you more about him if he made the squad. And let's see who made the squad. None of them, really. Francis Mulambika didn't even make the preliminary squad. Nixon Miyazulu did make the preliminary squad. And, let me see. He was actually not selected initially, but then he was brought in as a replacement. Yikes, I should have prepared this here. Let me see, though. No, sorry. I'm not really sure. I might have to check that. Let me see if he's on the list. Okay, sorry for that delay, but no, I don't see him on the list. So I think he was just on the preliminary squad and didn't make it to the final squad there. And Kieran Ngwenya also didn't make it, but we do have a new name in Mark Foja. So Mark Foja had never appeared for the squad before being named to the preliminary and then final squad. But it looks like he's the only one available here. So I'm going to put him as a maybe because they might be using an out-of-position player for the position of left back. A bit of a surprise there that none of them made it, so I'm not sure what they're going to do for that position. Okay, let's move on to right backs. And at the definite level is Stanley Sanudi. Stanley Sanudi played all 10 of their games in 2021. I think he was the only Malawi player to do that. He is 26 years old and has been with the team since 2015, but he has amassed 63 caps so far. He plays for Mighty Wanderers in Malawi. And a possible candidate is Ghani Chirwa. Ghani Chirwa is returned after an almost 2-year absence in September to play the last of their remaining 6 games in 2021. However, he was on the bench for 5 others, so it looks like he's a bench player, but is there fairly consistently in 2021. He earned his first cap in 2017 and has 15 caps since, and he's 25 years old. playing for Big Bullets in South Africa. Okay, now there are so many new players on the squad here that some of them aren't even identified by position, so they're just listed as a defender. So one of these is Nixon Moassi, who I considered a possibility. But the thing is, he's played only in local tournaments until he appeared in 2021 for the last 3 of their games on the bench. So it looks like they might be considering him for the team. He's 24 years old and has 2 caps for the national team. But I think those 2 caps were in something like the COSAFA Cup rather than for the main team. He plays for Sivo United in Malawi. And we have a couple of additions here, which they seem to need because they don't really have a lot of players in this position. Or they don't really have a lot of defenders, I should say. We will review that at the end. But perhaps this player, Lawrence Chazia. Lawrence Chazia is a new candidate because he hadn't played for Malawi, hadn't appeared for Malawi until being named to the preliminary squad. Okay, he also plays for Sivo United in Malawi and is 23 years old. And I think he played in that friendly in December. I have him here as 1 cap. So I think that was his first appearance for the squad. He's 23 years old. And the other candidate is the other new player is Sankani Makandawir. Sankani Makandawir was selected for the squad, but then was ruled out, I believe, with injury. There's a lot of players ruled out with COVID, but they weren't allowed to replace those. Players, and I think anyway, he is not on the final squad. So I think he was selected and then dropped. He plays for Big Bullets in Malawi and is 31 years old. He just has 1 cap since 2014. So he made his first appearance in July 2014. He returned after 7.5-year absence to be named to the squad, and then withdrew from the squad, I believe, due to injury. So he is not there. And Lawrence Chazia, I have no idea whether he's going to be a starter, but because he's new to the squad, I'll mark him as a substitute. Okay, moving on to midfield. Defensive midfielders, we have Charles Petro. Charles Petro, who we consider definite. He played 9 of their 10 games in 2021. And it was only the first one that he was not selected for, so he seems like a steady presence on the squad. He's just 20 years old, and he's been with the team since 2019, already amassing 23 caps. So he's one of the players that plays out of Africa. He's with Sheriff Tiraspol in Moldova. I believe they did well in the Champions League. I wish I had Connor, who knows about that stuff a little better than I do. I tend to follow international more, and he has some areas of club soccer that he follows. Anyway, Charles Petro, a definite candidate, if he's avoiding the COVID, because some of these are going to change because players having COVID. Next is Chicoti Chirwa. Chicoti Chirwa is considered a likely candidate, having played 4 of their 10 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 5 others. So he's been around during the last year. He's been on the team since 2015 and has 28 caps and 2 goals. The 29-year-old Chicoti Chirwa, he plays in Malawi also for Red Lions. I think that's not one of the bigger clubs, but I'm not dead sure. Okay, that is defensive midfielders, and we'll go on to central midfielders before announcing who made the squad. So next at the likely level is John Banda, and he played 7 of their 10 games in 2021, but was not selected for 3. Despite being a central midfielder, he tends to score in most of their qualifying campaigns. In fact, he scored their only goal in World Cup 2028 qualifying. But in 2022, it was a different accolade that he received. He got their only red card in qualifying for the 2022 World Cup, which they did not pass the main group stage. He plays for Songo in Mozambique, and he played for a different club in Mozambique before that. He's 29 years old and has been on the squad since 2011, so a real veteran with 75 caps and 7 goals. Next, also at a likely candidate, is Chimwemui Idana. Chimwemui Idana played 6 of their 10 games in 2021, including the last 3, and was on the bench for 3 of those. So he's 23 years old and has been with the team since 2019, but he already has 27 caps. He's with Big Bullets in Malawi. And at the possible level is Tawonga Chimontsi. Tawonga Chimontsi is 33 years old, and he's been on the team since 2007. And believe it or not, he returned after an 8-year absence in June to play 3 of their remaining 6 games, and was on the bench for 3 others. So I would imagine he thought he was kind of off the team, and here he is being invited again. He plays in Cyprus and has been mostly in that area of the world with a few teams in Cyprus, and then also a couple of teams in Greece. All right, so he's a possible candidate. And Mango Kiera. Oh my goodness, my throat has gone on strike. Okay, possible but unlikely. Mango Kiera. He played the first of their 10 games in 2021 and was on the bench for the next 3, and then not selected for the last 6 matches. So, but he is a veteran. He's 28 years old and has been with the team since 2011 and has 68 caps. And he plays for Big Bullets in Mozambique, his second stint with them. Let's see who made it. Charles Petro, who we considered a definite defensive midfielder, is on the squad. And Chicoti Chirwa also is on the squad. We considered him a likely defensive midfielder. So both of those guys. But I would say Charles Petro is a starter, while Chirwa is a substitute. Maybe a starter, but I'm going to say a substitute. And John Banda, of course, a likely candidate, made it, the veteran, as did Chimwemui Idana, both of those players making it. So I think John Banda is a starter, and Idana Chimwemui, I would say a maybe as a starter. You usually need a few central or defensive midfielders. Tawonga Chimontsi, is on the standby squad. I'm not even sure what that means because they have a reserve squad also. So I'm not sure what the difference is between those two. Anyway, let's say he was named to the preliminary squad he wasn't even that, but he was named on the preliminary squad as a standby player. And Chimango Kiera did not make it, but we do have one addition with Zebron Kalima, so a new player who came in late. Oh wait, no, that's a different position. Okay, we'll get to that soon enough. Let us look at left midfielders. And actually, that's where the player I just mentioned belongs. There were no actually left midfielders in the soccer files. No Malawi players coded as left midfielders. But then when the squad was announced, Zebron Kalima appeared. So he is new. And he had never appeared for Malawi before being named to the squad. So he's 19 years old and plays for Silver Strikers in Malawi. So I can't consider him a starter because he's brand new. So I'll put him as a maybe because there seems to be no one else on that side of the field. So perhaps a player playing out of position. Right midfielders, again, like left midfielders initially, there was no one coded in that position and no one was brought in, but they do have a right winger who we'll look at shortly, who will maybe play down the wing there. For left wingers, we have, so right midfielders, there are none. For left midfielders, we have a possible candidate in Duncan Naomi. Duncan Naomi played 3 of their games in 2021, but he wasn't selected for 7 of them, including the last 2. So the 23-year-old has 9 caps since 2019, and he plays for Silver Strikers in Malawi, but just a possible candidate there. And then one candidate who is possible but unlikely is Schumacher Kuali. Schumacher Kuali had played the first of their 10 games in 2021, but wasn't selected for 9 others. So he plays for Songo in Mozambique. And let me see. So Schumacher Kuali was selected for the preliminary squad, but not for the final squad. So neither of those players making the final squad. Let's move over to the right wing, and we have Peter Banda as a definite candidate. So at least they have one winger to rely on here. And Peter Banda had played 8 of their 10 games in 2021, but was not selected for 2 games, including the first one. And he's 21 years old, been on the team since 2019 and has 16 caps. So he plays for Simba in Tanzania, and he played for Big Bullets in Malawi too, but was loaned to Sheriff Tiraspol, who we just saw another player was with. That's Peter Banda. And the other one is Yamakani Chester. He's a likely candidate. And he played the last 7 of their 10 games in 2021 and wasn't selected for 3 matches, but they were the first 3 matches. So he's been on the squad consistently recently. He's 27 years old and has 28 caps since his first in 2015. And he's with Mighty Wanderers in Malawi. But he had a couple of stints outside of Africa. With the Las Vegas Lights in USA, and then with a team in the Czech Republic. So he's been around a little bit. I gotta say, to be honest, I see both of those players as starters for Malawi, even though they play right wing. I would imagine if they do both start, one would have to play out of position. All right, now we move on to the attacking line. And I start with attacking midfielders there. And we have Francisco Madinga as a likely candidate. Francisco Madinga earned his first cap in March 2021 and went on to play 6 of their remaining 9 games and was on the bench for 2 of the others. So he is 21 years old. And those 6 games are his only caps, of course, since he joined in 2021. And he plays for Delagori in Georgia. Georgia, just south of Russia there. Kind of an interesting place for a Malawi player to go. Okay, the next candidate is a possible, and it's Mike Makwati, or perhaps Makwate. He played only in local tournaments and friendlies until his first appearance on the bench in October to play one of their remaining 4 games. So he does have 8 caps, but most of those are in local tournaments. Perhaps the COSAFA Cup, that's the local group in the south part of Africa, or else in the African National Champions, which is a tournament that only local players can play in. So he's 23 years old there, has again earned his first cap with the main team this year. Next is Rafiq Memweira. Rafiq Memweira is also a possible candidate. He played the first 4 of their games in 2021, but then wasn't selected for any of the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. So he's 30 years old and has been with the team since 2016 and has 16 caps. He's with Mighty Wanderers in Malawi. And just give me a second. I have to just take a sip of water here. Sorry about that. Okay, and last candidate is Mickey Mahoney, who we have as a possible but unlikely. Mickey Mahoney just played the first of their 10 games in 2021 and was on the bench for 1 more, but not selected for 8 games, including the last 7. So even though he's a bit of a veteran for the team, 29 years old with 46 caps since 2012, he doesn't look likely to make this squad. And we'll do the one secondary striker, Gerald Ferry Jr. Here, we consider him likely. He played 7 of their 10 games in 2021 and was not selected for 3 others, including the first and the last. And now I'm recalling the story about him, which I'll tell you right away. So that he didn't participate in the last game becomes significant. He's 28 years old and has been on the squad since 2015 with 46 caps and 11 goals. And he plays in Sudan for Al Hilal Omdurman. And he also played for some of the bigger clubs in South Africa, Ajax Cape Town and Bidvest Wits and Platinum Stars. So he's been around. And okay, well, we're going to go to see who made it. But I read a story about this one, so I already know what's going on here. So Francisco Mandinga, who we considered likely, did make the squad. Mike Makwate, I don't think he made it. He made the preliminary squad, but not the final squad. Rafiq Memweira didn't even make the preliminary squad, But the unlikely, Mickey, we said possible but unlikely. Mickey and Mahoney did make the squad, despite being not selected for their last 7 games. But I would imagine he's going to be a substitute while Francisco Mandinga will look like a starter, or at least a maybe starter. Now, Gerald Ferry Jr., what happened to him was he was not selected for the squad, and I believe that was a bit of a shock. He's only 28 years old, but this is kind of the story of a player who would be older. The manager apologized but didn't bring him along, and then because a lot of players were struck with COVID, the manager persuaded him to come out of retirement. Oops, I missed that detail in the story. When he wasn't selected, he decided to retire at 28 years old. So you can imagine he was quite angry with the manager. Then the manager had to phone him back and invite him onto the team. So he came out of retirement. So he had been selected for the preliminary squad, was not selected for the final squad, and now is selected for the final squad. And, given that he played 7 of their 10 games, it's a bit of a baffling decision why he wasn't chosen. And I can't help but think he's going to be a starter. But I guess because the manager feels that way about him, I'll change it to a maybe.